Hey there, YouTube. Oh God, you love it. Want to have just a big shout out to the asshole who unsubscribed for me, bringing my subscriber count down to 116. Thank you so much, dickhead, who unsubscribed for me. I don't know who you are. They don't tell me. It's a good thing they don't tell me. You better watch out. Better watch out. But if anybody else wants amazing YouTube content in their YouTube stream, there you go. There's the link. There's the link. So shout out to my 116 subscribers. Folks, did you know that there is a fascist takeover of American democracy happening right around you as we speak? It's actually happening around you as we speak. As we speak, folks. So it's called the 2025 Project. Couldn't be. It's your boy, Rob. Welcome back. ROB. Thank you so much. It's hard to believe. It can't happen here, except it's actually happening here. And not only is it happening here, they don't even have to hide. They don't even have to hide from us. So Project 2025 is basically the new Heritage Fund on crack. Right. And if you don't know what the Heritage Fund is, Google it. But basic, just right-wing think tank interested. The Heritage Fund was more interested in just Republican dominance and didn't, and avoided the language of straight fascism, dictatorship kind of thing. Project 2025 says, nope, we're taking this to the next level. The only way for us to survive as a party, as a culture, as a society, right, because they view themselves as the real America, that they're under attack. Only way to do that is to secure power forever, right? Take over, destroy democracy. They don't say these things, of course. They don't. They never. Really, honestly, they actually do sometimes. So what I'm floundering here, because Nick Fuentes, and the bloggers on the fringes will just come out and say, yeah, I can't wait for a dictatorship. That's actually what we're doing. We're actually achieving that really well. And I've been talking to Steve Bannon, and he thinks we should do this. So, yeah, they'll tell us that shit. But you know what I mean? The suit and tie, the Matt Gaetz type characters are still pretending. And it's crazy watching Matt Gaetz speak doing this government shutdown. You would think he's a populist of the people, while he's like doubling down on the destruction of services, goods and services and functions of the government to provide things for people, to make their lives easier. While he's chopping away at that tree, he's like, we need to save the trees. We got to save them. As he's just hacking away. Someone's got to do something to save the trees. Terrible analogy, but I hope you get my point. So we're just going to read this whole goddamn thing because it's very important. Trust me, it's happening. Do you like liberty? Are you an American that enjoys liberty, that enjoys freedom, that enjoys picking and choosing as you please? Then you might be interested in this, because look, it's not just oh, it's the left for a little bit and then it's the right for a little bit. You just made it. Strategy. We're here. We're talking about right-wing fascists. Project 2025. But no, to the politically apathetic that are not watching my show. So why the fuck am I talking about them? But they're important because they're voters. Which is why you need to become an activist, because you got to talk to these fucking people. Okay? But to the politically apathetic, this is not just another left-right cycle. This is the entire status quo being shattered. And yes, that will absolutely affect your fucking life. Don't get it twisted. Do you like having sex with the people you like having sex with? Do you like having, freedom from a police state watching you and monitoring you? It goes on and on and on and on and on. There's the shit that they're telling us, and then there's the shit that they're not telling us that is very likely to happen. Let's get into it. America needs to talk about the right's Red Caesar plan for U.S. dictatorship. Quote-unquote thought leaders, and I talk about these thought leaders a lot, Nick Fuentes, Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, thought leaders of the right talk openly about a 2025 dictatorship. People need to be alarmed. And yes, this is not, okay, this isn't boring George Bush style, what do they used to call them? Neoconservatives? No, this is fascism. This is fascism. Wondering what the fuck was going on. Losing my mind here. This is fascism. The incredible scenes this week on Capitol Hill. Can he say the word hill correctly? No, he can't. The incredible scenes this week on Capitol Hill, leaving the U.S. House without a speaker and promising an autumn of sheer chaos in Congress, marked a rapid escalation of the downward spiral of American democracy. And most of the folks who get paid big bucks to understand politics could not make any sense of it. Kind of true. I was watching MSNBC very carefully. They are intentionally leaving out the elephant in the room for them, which is the failure of the neoliberal Democrats to do anything about it. With that said, I have a Morning Joe clip. I know, I'm sorry. I have a Morning Joe clip that will give you a little bit more context about how they're starting to wake up and push back against this because they're seeing very troubling poll numbers. So we'll get to that a little later. TV pundits compared a near shutdown of the federal government and Kevin McCarthy's subsequent, we're saying that word, subsequent ouster as speaker to the iconic sitcom Seinfeld. They're saying, oh, this is a shutdown about nothing. Joe Scarborough thinks he's the most clever motherfucker in the world. It's a shutdown about nothing. Well, no, actually, Joe, you could actually provide a lot of context to people as to why this is happening. But they're just chaos agents. And it's like, well, yes, both of these things are true, but there is an agenda here, Joe, and he's on fucking TV for 8 hours a day. Do you think he could pull up the fucking 2025 project, Joe, cutting between Mika and fucking Willie? God, I swear to God, I have a tumor after watching all this MSNBC, dude. It's disgusting. Fuck, they interview the same 6 fucking people all day. Anyway. Show about nothing. In capitals around the globe, world leaders and baffled analysts struggled to make sense of the utter dysfunction paralyzing the nation that just a generation ago held itself out as the lone superpower. Yet to a small but influential gaggle of so-called quote-unquote thought leaders on the edge of the stage, the pseudo-intellectuals of right-wing think tanks and chaos agent-in-chief Steve Bannon, the growing rot infecting another U.S. institution is just more evidence of their stunning argument now, flying at warp speed. Yet under the radar of a clueless mainstream media. Exactly. So I need to read that again because it's terrible. The growing rot infecting another key U.S. institution is just more evidence of their stunning argument now flying at warp speed. And by the stunning argument, they mean Project 2025, a.k.a. how we're going to achieve dictatorship in America, is now flying at warp speed, yet under the radar of a clueless mainstream media. And I don't know. I don't know about clueless. It seems to me they're intentionally not saying things to protect the Democratic Party. It seems to me that they're actually well aware of the attack on democracy, because I have seen Project 2025 covered by Mehdi Hasan on MSNBC. And if you know, Mehdi Hasan is not on the main channel. He's the YouTube guy, basically. And he's damn good for what it is for MSNBC. He's good. I'm going to take my damn back. Mehdi Hasan, you need to earn that damn. The DC dysfunction is more proof, they would argue, that the nation needs a quote-unquote red Caesar who will cut through the what they call constitutional gridlock and impose order. And this is what they want. They frame it as a good thing, but we hear Vivek Ramaswamy, right, talking about he's going to fire 75% of the government, right, and he's going to run it like a company. Well, that's what he's talking about, right? He's going to remove any pushback and just run it by fiat, install a bunch of czars, kind of similar to how Russia does it, and all these czars taking a little bit off the top, hey, come on, baby, why can't I help myself a little bit? If you're not one of those dudes who thinks about ancient Rome every day, I mean, that doesn't exist. Every single man on the planet thinks about ancient Rome every single day. Once you've heard about ancient Rome, it's in there forever. Let me translate. The alleged brain trust of an increasingly fascist MAGA movement wants an American dictatorship that would, quote unquote, suspend democracy in January 2025. Suspend. Just 15 months from now. This meme going around about guys constantly think about Rome. I'm busted, dude. I literally just did a deep dive in my personal time on I, Claudius, an absolutely amazing fucking BBC masterpiece theater production, and it's all about Rome. So I'm stone cold busted, dude. I think that's just hilarious. All right. The guru of this push for a president seizing dictatorial powers to overthrow what far-right activists see as a deep state of liberals corrupting institutions ranging from government agencies to the media to large corporations and the Pentagon. And this is really tough for a guy like me because I have a lot of criticism of this, of the American government and the Pentagon, and I mean, the 16, 17 intelligence agencies that we have, yada, yada, yada. I would like to see auditing. We should close the Homeland Security. We should close ICE. We should shut these down. So, it's like I don't agree with them, but I agree with them. It's very difficult for me because I don't think we should install a dictator, right? I think we should use democracy to fix these things. Anyway, the corrupting institute rate from government. So this is just a tough thing for me to be like, because I want to stay principled and say, yeah, no, we need to reform these institutions, and like I said, we need to cut some of them, ICE and other examples there, Homeland Security being the big two for me, ICE and Homeland Security. It's just completely unnecessary, redundant, and quite frankly, a pseudo-authoritarian police state when it comes to ICE, right? So it's interesting to see them, twist that sentiment of like, well, something isn't right. There's a lot of money being wasted. There's a lot of redundancy. There's a lot of authoritarianism. So let's reform that. So it's amazing to see them twist that narrative into, let's have full-blown fascism. You agree with the methods, not the goals? Well, no, not exactly. There are places in the government that do need to be reformed or outright cut. So like, I'm just saying, if I was in charge, I would be talking about cutting certain things and reforming certain things, having an audit of the Pentagon and things like that. So it's just weird. It's just kind of weird because they're taking this progressive left narrative of, we have serious problems in the government. There's serious, authoritarian issues, military industrial complex. They call it, they've turned it into this pithy statement of deep state, right? Which is something the left should have done, right? We should have come up with something as clever as the deep state. I mean, maybe it is a left term. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like it connects everything, right? It's, oh, yeah, just basically the description of the swamp, right? Another good one, right? That's just the basic dysfunction of U.S. government. So it's sad for me to see this, progressive narrative of reform and change and, cutting things that need to be cut and then turned into this. Because when you watch Matt Gaetz, he speaks like a progressive. He speaks like a populist, like a fucking, and I guarantee you, if you were to walk up to Matt Gaetz and go, hey, what do you think of Martin Luther King? He'd be like, oh, I love Martin Luther King, and I think he's the greatest orator, the blah, 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 blah. They've completely co-opted, right, this revolutionary spirit or energy of the progressive left. But, anyway, the guru is a professor of politics at Michigan's ultra-conservative Hillsdale College, Kevin Slack. yes, the name Hillsdale that GOP-led school boards, including Penridge in Philadelphia's northern exurbs, are hiring to whitewash their curriculum, right? Saying, oh, they weren't slaves. I mean, they're trying to change the terminology on things like slaves, and it just goes on and on. In War on the American Republic, how liberalism became despotism, in which he rails against the quote-unquote cosmopolitan class. Wow, dude. I bet this guy still uses limousine liberal. Of unelected elites he claims is running America. Slack writes that the new right now often discusses a red Caesar, by which it means a leader whose post-constitutional rule will restore the strength of his people. In a recent Guardian article, writer Jason Wilson, who deserves enormous credit for tying together these threads, finds anti-democracy arguments like Slack's are gaining traction in the small but influential world of far-right think tanks like Hillsdale and the Claremont Institute. And this is what I've been warning people about. That's been tracked here in Philadelphia by another writer, the centrist liberal Damon Linker at UPenn, who sees a dangerous conspiracy theory taking root not just with obscure professors, but with the iconoclastic billionaires who back the right. And this is what I've been talking about, man. Why do you think we're dealing with characters like Matt Gaetz? They're starting to get this appeal. They're starting to, you know what? Maybe they're right. It is time to do this. Quote, intellectuals play a certain kind of role, especially on the right, in legitimizing actions of elites in the party and the movement. Linker told me in a recent interview, adding, they're giving people permission to do terrible things. Yes. That is Trump, right? He unlocks that. He's like, what? Yes, no, this is the right way to act. I've been shamed for the last 20 years for being an asshole. But no, this is the American way. I don't have to change. The world has to change. Labeling shameful measures as acts of virtue. Exactly, right? I'm a deplorable. I'm a proud deplorable. You telling me I'm voting against my self-interest is just you being the deep state, and it's fake news. Maybe progressive left isn't revolutionary, remember, became status quo. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, Equal Dari. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of, I'm just going to say it. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of fucking pussies on the left. Hot take. Hot take. Okay, and I'm not talking people. I'm not talking about the left needs people advocating for violence, but I'm talking that the left needs to be advocating for people that are unashamed of their progressive values. And yes, we do see capitulation to the mainstream neoliberals far too often, and we've seen how effective leveraging your power can be on the right. Look what 8 individuals have done to an entire party: AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Bernie Sanders. Look what just a handful of people have done to an entire political party. The party is transforming to their whims as we speak. So yeah, no, the left needs to buck up, nut up, and start fucking shit up politically. That's what I advocate for. Action. No more wallflowers. Nonviolent, direct political action. Step 1, 2, 3. Step 3, right? That's why I keep it simple. I whittle it down to the simple elements because it is simple. Creating political change is way more simple than the left thinks it is. Yeah. Oh my God. Alex Jones is 100% correct. The left's foreign policy is a tragedy. What do they actually believe in? We got Bernie Sanders over here too afraid to call out the military-industrial complex half the time. Guess we just won't talk about Israel. Anyway. Things are getting more terrible by the day. Whether it's the mob on Staten Island tormenting residents of a temporary shelter for refugees by bombarding them with noise or flashlights. Do you imagine? You're in your apartment, you You got a place to stay. You got a job, hopefully. And you're like torturing. You're like flashing flashlights and blaring loud music at people, you know, in fucking sandals. Not a dollar to their name. Oh, you're the reason my life sucks. Get him. You're the reason my life sucks and I'm an asshole and my family doesn't love me anymore. Blink, 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 blink. Or the shockingly ugly social media swarms of right-wingers mocking the murderers of liberals like Philadelphia journalist Josh Kruger or New York's Ryan Carson. And I'm going to be covering Ryan Carson on Saturday. Is an activist that was recently shot and killed by a right-winger. Or the MAGA gunman in New Mexico who smirked after shooting a Native American during a vigil. I'll also be covering that on Saturday. But the chaos at the bottom of the political food chain is coming from the same instincts tearing apart the top of the government. Desire to blow it all up. And that's what it is. And that's what, you know, that's the name, abandoned nihilism. It is nihilism. And they're characters like Nick Fuentes, they just legitimately just want to see what happens. They just want to, you know, fuck it all up and watch. Ooh. When these raw instincts are translated by the extreme right's quote-unquote intellectuals into an explicit plea for dictatorship, you can see that America is poised to cross the Rubicon, a metaphor rooted in the river of northern Italy that Julius Caesar had to cross with his army in 49 BC in order to drive out Rome's democratically elected government and seize power. America should be having a robust life or death conversation when TV's Cable Talk Fest signs on at 6 a.m. Yeah, it does start at that time. Starts even sooner though. I mean, God, it's just nonstop. If you could watch this cable news crap, you could lose your fucking mind. Until the last words at midnight. On the floors of the House and Senate, in newspaper editorial boards, and down at the barbershop and in Starbucks, about whether we really want to end the country's 247-year uneven experiment in democracy, and whether one man should have the power to override elections, jail his enemies, free his friends, and eviscerate federal agencies. So I know it's hard to listen to me. It's hard to listen to my reading. But no, it's become mainstream, this conversation of should we have a democracy? I mean, we're losing hand and fist, and look, they're politically going after their enemies with Trump, and you know, like obviously Ukraine is failing us as a country because the entire country is conservative, right? That's their mindset, right? That like there's hundreds of millions or tens of millions of conservatives that are they just don't have a voice and they need to be saved. Interesting, right? Jim Moneymaker, this story is about Project 2025, the plan that the Heritage Fund, it's like a Heritage Fund plan on crack of how the right wing are going to install a dictator, regardless of what happens in 2024, regardless of what happens with Trump. It's kind of like what do we do to keep this, this takeover of American democracy going once Trump dies, or if Trump doesn't win, or, ideally Trump would win and, we can enact this even faster. And this is how we would do it. Look it up. There's a link here if you want. I'll show you to Project 2025, presidential transition project. Check it out today. This is how the fascists are taking over your country. This is how it's happening, folks. Okay. And yet the elites that far-right extremists claim are quote-unquote all-powerful seem incapable of grasping these very real threats to constitutional government or a free press. And I agree. It shouldn't just be Mehdi Hasan. It should be every single host. And they hint at it, but they, like I said, they only talk about it in the frame of protecting Joe Biden. It's never about calling out the failures, right? I have watched dozens of hours of MSNBC. Yes, I know. I'm mentally ill. I've watched dozens of hours of MSNBC, and they have yet to mention Biden's failure to pass the Voting Rights Act, right? He blamed it on the parliamentarian? Was that the one about the parliamentarian? Oh, can't do it. Sorry. Anyway, moving on. That could have fixed a lot of these issues right then and there, making a lot of what we're seeing happen illegal on a federal level, changing how the elections are done, changing who gets to run the elections, changing what happens after the election if they don't like the results. They had that fucking legislation. And I can't do it. Anyway, moving on. You go shit on my Build Back Better plan. Means test that into oblivion. Vote for me. That's particularly true of the mainstream media and its pace setters like the New York Times. The New York Times isn't fucking left. Or the Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, which seems determined to both sides the descent into dictatorship. Yes, 100%. And what's their example here? This ought to be good. We need to show both sides. Ah! They literally say it. They literally say it. They literally say it. We got to move more to the middle. We got to be more centrist. No, they're not moneymaker. Right-wingers who control states should not be allowed to say how they run their elections. That needs to be run by the federal government so that there's no chicanery. You know, right-wingers are passing legislation that says that after an election, they can just claim, oh, there was fraud, nullified the elections, and then pick someone by a small group of people, just get to pick a candidate that they want. Is that what you call states' rights? Completely subverting the democratic process and throwing millions of votes into the trash? I don't think so. So it's not a states' rights issue. It's absolutely should be run by the federal government. Should be done the exact same way everywhere, and we should get paper back in the process. States' rights. States' rights to steal and subvert elections? I don't fucking think so. With headlines that blame dysfunction on Capitol Hill on Congress instead of Republicans, or that place the 80-year-old President Joe Biden's verbal or actual stumbles on a level pitch with rising GOP fascism. Exactly. Oh, well, I know the Republicans are trying to, install a fascist dictatorship, but Joe Biden fumbled his speech and tripped and fell down. That's pretty bad. It's all the more remarkable since we all know who the actual Red Caesar is, even if he is technically orange, Donald Trump, the 45th president who seems to have already locked down the Republican nomination to become the 47th, has been accused of running a rambling, ideas-free campaign, except that's not true. As the Los Angeles Times recently noted, Trump has been pretty specific in recent speeches and interviews about the actions he would take if he takes the oath of office in January 2025. And this is good, folks. This is good stuff. Such as naming a special prosecutor to go after his political enemies. Just straight up, I'm just going to arrest my political enemies. Put me in charge. I'm going to go after my enemies politically with a completely corrupt and politicized DOJ. Blowing up civil service protections to fill the government with his acolytes, deploying the military in a massive deportation campaign, and sending troops to, quote-unquote, control crime in Democratic-led cities. You understand that? He said that. He said that. Send troops to control crime in Democratic-led cities. If Julius Caesar were here, he'd surely be giving Trump 47 presidency a Roman salute. But the media and others struggle to understand how someone like Trump, twice impeached with 91 pending felony indictments. Is each one of those charges considered an indictment? I thought they were charges. I thought it was 4 indictments and 91 charges. I don't know. Found in New York courtrooms to be both a rapist, wrong, sexual assaulter, so this person's being hyperbolic, and a fraudster. But, I mean, honestly, though, it's... Yeah, I mean, I read this too, but no, we already went over this. We already went over this article on the fucking stream, and technically it's sexual assault, and technically there is a difference, but it's probably not much of a difference to the person being sexually assaulted. So I don't know, whatever. A fraudster, and has a 50-50 chance of returning to the White House. That requires understanding the role of the right's #1 chaos agent, Bannon. You guys ever heard me say Steve Bannon on the show? I would assume so. Who was Trump's 2016 campaign manager. and his ability to move pawns like the foot soldiers of the McCarthy ouster, such as Reps Matt Gaetz and Nancy Mace, across his messy chessboard. Bannon, now a popular podcaster who was pardoned by Trump but faces new charges, understands better than anyone that creating political mayhem is laying the groundwork for a strongman to declare, as Trump did in 2016, that I alone can fix it. I mean, that is like literally a quote. He literally said that. What a picture. Jesus. In a 2022 article, it's almost over, folks. In a 2022 article, a former Bannon associate, Benjamin R. Tellebaum, wrote that the Trump ally frequently told him, quote, about the destiny of the United States and the role he sees for chaos and destruction, for craziness in it. The worldview he laid out to me was one where things he might otherwise consider harmful, like the disillusion of our electoral process or the erosion of shared understandings of truth, were to be embraced as fated stages in a process of national birth. Wow. So now that Bannon's craziness is here, the phony intellects of Trumpism at Hillsdale or Claremont are seizing the opportunity to make their case for the quote-unquote Red Caesar, to bring about that quote-unquote national rebirth. In addition to the Hillsdale slack, proponents of suspending the Constitution include the likes of Claremont's Michael Anton, the leading academic proponent of Trumpism, who in a 2020 book floated a similar theory about a form of one-man rule halfway between monarchy and tyranny. He's putting that in his book. He's putting that in his book. This is supposed to be the one of the intellectuals for the Trump movement. Dictatorship can happen here. Yes, Kim, exactly. You're right. Dictatorship can happen here, but why and why now? That would probably take another book to explain, but it feels partly the ultimate outcome of America's college/non-college divide that I wrote about in 2020's After the Ivory Tower Falls. Okay, now he's fucking promoting his book. The Guardian's Wilson noted that Anton, in an essay decrying the power of elite liberal-minded experts, wrote that the United States peaked around 1965. What was that year's landmark event? The passage of the Voting Rights Act. So he's saying, yeah, America really started to decline when we gave black people the right to vote. Yeah, I agree, Equaldari. He's this Will Bunch here. I'll find it's the goddamn Inquirer. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is so not a lot of people are talking about this shit. Okay, I gotta dig. All right, but yeah, there you go. You get the fucking point. It's really happening. It's a real thing. It's actually fucking happening. Like and subscribe to my YouTube, please. I'm desperate. I'm just gonna buy fucking viewers. I'm just gonna buy a bunch of fucking subscribers, dude. Jacksepticeye did it. Thank you so much, Slower Pace, for helping me keep my sanity. So this is great. Jewish Florida State Rep. Okay, so hold on. Didn't I say I was going to do like a sound effect? Damn it. I need a sound effect for new thing. We're doing a new thing. Cool. Well, I'm a democratic socialist. How you doing? Fuck you want to debate about? Get your ass out there and start marching. Get your ass out there and start doing some activism. That's the only debate. When are you going to the next march? That's the debate. Yeah, so you're 14. So you got nothing but time in the fucking world. Get your ass out there. Jewish Florida State Representative who fully supports DeSantis in the state's far-right transformation, quote-unquote, shaken up by encounter with pro-Nazis that DeSantis has refused to condemn. This is great, too. Listen to this. Chill out. You need to get angry. Chill the fuck out. No, you need to get the fuck angry, young man. Did you know the Republicans are trying to take away your rights right now? Tell me to chill out, young buck. You gotta pull your head out your ass, man. Now listen to this. This is great. State Rep Randy Fine said he had a quote. This is a extreme right winger, fully supports Ron DeSantis. Okay. Blown up for you. State Rep Randy Fine said he had a quote unquote unsettling encounter Tuesday with a member of an anti-Jewish extremist group, a fucking Nazi, outside a speaking engagement in Cocoa, warning it appeared to be an escalation of recent anti-Semitic incidents in the area. How about you stick around? Pull your head out of your ass and stick around and learn something. Shut your fucking mouth, sit down, learn something. You're 14, okay? You should be listening, not talking. Fucking Zoomers over here. What are you? Are you even a Zoomer or are you Alpha generation? Fine, who is Jewish, said the man aggressively approached him. Is Trump going to be the next president? I have some poll numbers that may surprise you, Estonian. Okay, thank you, child. Do I need to time you out? One more comment like that, and you're getting the fucking dunce corner, buddy. Stop embarrassing your generation. So Fine, who is Jewish, said the man aggressively approached him with a camera outside an unrelated meeting with the Bedford Federated Republican Women on Tuesday at the Space Coast Convention Center in Cocoa, where Fine was booked to speak. Quote, listen to this. This is great. He's actually doing exactly what this little asshole in the chat is doing, except from the right. Listen to this. Quote, he runs up to me and he goes, I'm so-and-so, I don't remember his name, with the Goyim Defense League. Hi, I'm Baba from the Goyim Defense League. I represent Nick Fuentes. Fine told Florida Today, so listen to this. He then proceeds to unleash a stream of invective about Jews and wanted to know why I wouldn't debate him or whatever. Debate me, bro. Debate me, bro. Debate me, bro. Welcome back. Throw me into the sun. At the sun. Throw me at the sun. Welcome back. And welcome back, everybody else, by the way. Thank you for coming back. The group is identified. And let's look at the shirt. Look at this shirt. I gotta work out, though. I think this Nazi has less of a gut than I do. That cannot stand. The group is identified as an anti-Semitic hate group by the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Members are suspected of being behind dozens of anti-Jewish flyers bearing the group's logo that were recently dropped in neighborhoods around Indelantic, Melbourne Beach, and West Melbourne. Gall. I don't know. That's a good question, Moneymaker. I actually don't know. It's actually throw meet the sun. Okay. Listen to this. He thrust this flyer. This is great. This is the shit that we see in my chat, literally happening in my chat, left or right. Right? These young people who think it's about winning a debate. that if they just zinger their opponent hard enough, they'll somehow make political change. But listen to this. He thrust this flyer in my face and asked me, "What part of this isn't true?" Fine said. Because isn't that great? Oh, they give you a flyer with a bunch of bullshit. Prove that it isn't true. You can't disagree with any of this. No, I disagree with all of it. Oh yeah, which thing do you disagree with? This thing right here. Oh yeah, you got to give me a source. You need a source of that information. That's just made up bullshit. Okay, here's a source. This source is liberal. This source is the Jewish conspiracy. You didn't give me a proper source. How many times have we fucking done this, right? With these assholes. And this guy's like, I know how to debate. I know how to win politically. And he gets right in front of a fucking politician. Oh yeah, you're part of the Jewish conspiracy. Fine said a group of 3 or 4 men wearing shirts bearing Nazi symbols and the hate group's initials were still outside the convention center, displaying a large sign with anti-Jewish propaganda as he left. Let's see. Pictures taken outside the conference center by attendee Carrie Takwaz showed at least 2 men wearing red T-shirts with the GDL initials and the Totenkopf, or Death's Head skull, as a symbol of the Nazi SS. One of the men was wearing what TACX described as similar to a hunting mask, which she said spooked some event goers. Yeah, they have to cover their face because they're Nazis. You're not angry? Your entire generation is getting fucked, and you're not angry. You're like, chill out, bro. That's pretty fucking pathetic. That's pretty fucking pathetic. Mr. Zoomer. Welcome back, Rebel Phoenix. Jim Jordan being Speaker of the House. Yeah, no, I want Trump. Trump to be Speaker of the House. Yeah, baby. Trump. Whatever. Nazis, blah, blah, blah. Fine called the most recent incident an escalation and warned of the confrontations could happen again. Remember, loves Ron DeSantis, hardcore right-winger, shaken up. Oh, this is an escalation. Quote, now it's we're going to stalk politicians and ambush them. This is your constituents, buddy. This is the people voting for you, buddy. He said, I think they got the better of them this time, but I don't think everyone is like me, and they'll probably be more prepared next time. So that's your solution to the problem you created is what? Bodyguards? They vote for Ron DeSantis. They love Ron DeSantis. All right. Okay. Moving on to the next story. We're not going to play this whole 18 minutes. Good God, no. But I wanted to show you some of what I've been watching and killing myself with. Roblox. But it's so cancerous, these responses, you know, and it does show a dysfunction on the left and the right, you know, because it's like, this is an opportunity to call this what it is and to be aggressive. And we're still seeing the neoliberals, you know, I mean, they're standing their ground, and they did not save McCarthy, which is something. Nancy Pelosi would have probably saved McCarthy. Thanks, Moneymaker. All right, but let's get into it. The Humanist Report, great. Like and subscribe, folks. Everyone loves the Humanist Report. And if you don't, shed it. Go ahead and type 1 in the chat if you want me to time this 14-year-old child out for 10 minutes. Go ahead and just type a 1 in the chat. If I get more than 3 ones, I will time this child out for 10 minutes.
About this guy. This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why
these are congressional. These are basically right wingers that are now trying to nail Matt Gaetz to the wall and call him a sexual predator and all that.
The conference came and defended him because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. This is obviously before he got married. And so when that accusation came out, no one defended him, and then no one on the media would give him a time of the day. All of a sudden, he found fame because he opposed the Speaker of the House back in November. And he's always stayed there, and he was never going to leave until he got this last moment of fame by going after a motion.
The monster is using the techniques that we use to destroy democracy against us.
Vacate.
The video you just watched pretty much confirms what I think a lot of us suspected would happen. Matt Gaetz is getting Cawthorned by the Republican Party. Now, to refresh your memory, Madison Cawthorn revealed that Republicans invited him to their coke-fueled orgies, and they retaliated by subsequently releasing numerous scandals.
They nuked this guy. All of a sudden, some like really weird video of him like getting way too close. You know, like it would have been fine for like if he hadn't been like super anti-gay and everything, but the guy was so clearly like. Madison Cawthorn on his honeymoon took his like best friend with him on his honeymoon. Hey, buddy.
Endless videos of him in the lead up to his primary, and he ultimately lost. And now they're giving Matt Gaetz that same exact treatment, and this is only the beginning. Now, some Republicans are so pissed off about McCarthy's ouster due to...
There's nothing wrong with being gay. There's everything wrong with being gay and being a politician and voting against gay rights. That's the issue.
Matt Gaetz, that they're threatening physical violence against Matt Gaetz publicly. But before we get to that, I do want to look at CNN's follow-up to Markwayne Mullen's comments, along with the response from Matt Gaetz.
Congressman Gaetz has never been charged with any sex trafficking crime, and he gave this statement to CNN in response. I don't think Markwayne Mullen and I have said 20 words to each other on the House floor. This is a lie from someone who doesn't know me and who is coping with the death of the political career of his friend Kevin. Thoughts and prayers.
I keep saying this, and people are sleeping on Matt Gaetz. He's an incredibly slick, extremely agile in terms of news interviews, right? Trying to like nail him on something, like this and that. He is incredibly slick, and honestly, if he continues to stay in power, if he really takes a leadership position in this party, we're in really, really bad shape. This guy absolutely wants a dictatorship. He absolutely wants to install a Vivek Ramaswamy or who it is, of himself, if it could be, right? And he is so capable of twisting words and twisting language, and he's a very adept politician already. He's a full-blown sociopath, and people are honestly sleeping on Matt Gaetz. He's extremely dangerous.
Won't lie, I think that response from Matt Gaetz was pretty funny. And I understand why he's kind of going with this scorched earth strategy. The bridge is already burnt, right? Republicans, even before he ousted McCarthy, were plotting to expel him. So now he has nothing to lose. They're after his throat, so he has no reason to remain polite. But Markwayne Mullen was not done spilling the tea on Matt Gaetz, because in a Newsmax interview, he alleged the following.
The first time I ever met this guy, he walked up to me, and Kristi Noem at the time was at the podium. He was speaker, or he was elected at the time. He was a member-elect, so we was going through conference and orientation, and he walked up to me as Kristi Noem, now Governor Kristi Noem, and he said, man, she's a fine...
And he walked up to her while this politician was speaking. He goes, oh, that's a fine bitch.
And you can put the B word in place there. And I looked at him, I said, really? Because Kristi is a very close friend of mine. And he turned around and walked away. Later, I will say he came up and apologized for that. But he still shouldn't have said it. It was completely out of line. And this is the type of individual Matt Gaetz is.
Clearly not a fan.
Very concerning, as Elon Musk would say. Now, Matt Gaetz being a misogynistic pig isn't necessarily the bombshell revelation that you'd think, because I feel like he's been pretty openly misogynistic towards women, publicly attacking them, saying overtly sexist things. But I mean, his constituents are still voting for him regardless, so I don't think that that's going to hurt him in particular. But a way that you can actually stick it to Matt Gaetz and hurt him is to expose what he said about the people who vote for him. Now, Markwayne Mullen did have something to say about that.
I mean, there was many times that he would go out on news programs in the evening, and he would tell me personally, hey, I got to go sell my constituent catheters, because all he was doing was selling himself, and evidently his constituent base is...
Jim Moneymaker, if you're honestly still asking that, I mean, look, I don't know the specifics, but just type it into fucking Google. If you're honestly still trying to defend Elon Musk, bro, I mean, honestly. Just stop embarrassing yourself, okay? But no, I mean, that doesn't mean every single allegation against Elon Musk is just, by default, true. But Elon Musk, every single fucking day is telling on himself. Every single day he's telling on himself and telling us who he is with his statements.
Is an older base,
Welcome back.
and
Oh my God,
he thought that was funny. To me, that's not funny. You take your job and make it serious, do what's right by it, and serve. This isn't an opportunity for you just to have an opportunity to promote yourself, which that was what Matt Gaetz' goals was.
So step 1, paint him as a sexual deviant. Check. Step 2, expose his disdain for his own constituents. Check. Step 3, well, put his hypocrisy on full display. So on Tuesday, when we talked about Kevin McCarthy's ouster, there was a moment during the debate period where Matt Gaetz was booed after he condemned the corporate cash that his GOP colleagues willingly accepted. Now,
and it's watch this guy get so fired up. And I guarantee you, I'm not on these guys' mailing list, but I guarantee you this fucking guy does the exact same thing. I guess one thing that Matt Gaetz did do, though, is that apparently, so it took like 15 votes for Kevin McCarthy to become speaker. He sent out fundraising emails every single time, and Matt Gaetz has been doing that quite a bit. Like every single time he gets up there and does a speech, sends out a fundraising email, utterly shameless. And of course, these Republicans, I mean, come on. A grand majority of politicians, left and right, neoliberal or right, a grand majority of their time is spent on the phone raising money from oligarchs. Okay.
He said that in response to them saying that he was doing all of this for attention and just trying to fundraise off of it. And just days later, all of a sudden, after he called out their corruption, we learned that he's also courting corporate donors. Ross Story explains the Daily Beast is reporting.
I mean, is that true? I don't know. Is it true that Elon Musk has like one less kid than Nick Cannon? He has like 12 kids.
That Matt Gaetz, who has pledged not to take money from corporate PACs, is not above courting GOP mega donors. The publication has obtained a video conference call organized by Stop the Steal fundraiser Carolyn Wren, in which Gaetz buttered up right-wing sugar daddies with off-the-record details about private conversations he'd had with former President Donald Trump. The most interesting part of the video, however, was the way Wren advised donors to use their wealth to bend Republican lawmakers to their wills. And that right there is exactly why Gaetz says that he is supposedly against these types of corporate donations. Because if you raise small dollar donations from your constituents exclusively, then you're not going to have to be beholden to these large corporations.
Okay, yep, I know. Look, I mean, he's really good. He's really good. But I mean, God, he's okay. He does such a good show with all these clips lined up right next to each other. God damn it, Matt. Mike Figurino, you're doing a good job, buddy. You're doing a good job. I need to up my game just like you're doing. But like I'm doing it live, and you're kind of, I need to do more of this structured pre-recorded stuff because it's really good.
Who help you get elected. But there he was at a fundraiser organized by an insurrectionist who encouraged wealthy donors to use their wealth to influence and basically buy off politicians. The exact thing that Matt Gaetz condemned his colleagues for doing. And I've got to say, it's really interesting to suddenly see all of these leaks pop up out of nowhere, right? It kind of feels almost coordinated, because it probably is. But Matt Gaetz isn't just chumming it up with GOP mega donors. He's still soliciting donations from his own constituents. And side note, far-right propagandist Mark Levin shared this fundraising email that he got from Gaetz where he claims that McCarthy struck a deal with Democrats. And Levin pointed out that Marxist Democrats, it's funny that he calls them Marxists, unanimously backed you, moron.
Okay, Moneymaker. Thanks for letting us know what some people have made homophobic comments about Mike. That's a little weird, but all right, thanks.
Will you vacate your seat for your shameless serial lies to conservatives and the nation? Of course not.
Mark Levin! Oh, God, the irony. Oh, it's dripping. It's dripping. Mark Levin over here.
But Marxist Democrats unanimously backed you, moron. You will vacate your seat if you're shameless serial lies to conservatives in the nation. Of course not.
Mark Levin, one of the most shameless bastards who using every slimy, slick, rhetorical trick in the book to get what he wants.
How dare Matt Gaetz use our techniques against us? You're not supposed to be assholes to us. You're supposed to be assholes to them.
Mark Levin, man, you better get on the fast train before it fucking leaves the station, buddy. Toot toot. Trump trains are rolling. We're getting full dictatorship. Don't you know that?
We're still democracy.
No, the fuck you're not. You haven't wanted a democracy since your existence, man. Your entire media existence has been,
the Republicans need to go further to the right. We need more authoritarianism. We need more authoritarians. That's what we need.
And now he's like, oh, don't be so mean to me.
Not. Now, unfortunately for Mark Levin, he was ratioed into oblivion, which is something that Matt Gaetz pointed out while sharing his donation link again. Yeah, so I had to share that with you since we're already on the subject of fundraising and GOP.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz is very good, clever.
And one Republican is on the record talking about how...
Jim, if you are a person that supports a right-wing politician that supports authoritarianism, you actually support authoritarianism. Yeah. The fact that a lot of the constituents are ignorant of what they're supporting Does that really give them an excuse? Would you allow the left to make that excuse? Oh, I didn't know it was Che Guevara. I didn't know it was Mao Zedong. But so really? No. I don't understand why we got to give people who support a fascist party a break. Because of their ignorance.
How he wants to physically assault Matt Gaetz. And I'm not talking about Chip Roy again. We're talking about a different Republican. So the Hill reports immediately after the vote Tuesday, Representative Don Bacon told reporters that Gaetz should be removed from the House GOP conference, adding he's not a Republican. Representative Mike Lawler, who said Tuesday that he would have hit Gaetz square between the eyes with the speaker's gavel, echoed Bacon's sentiment Wednesday, saying he believes the Florida Republican should be kicked out of the conference. Punchbowl News reported Wednesday night that Lawler said he is considering offering a motion to expel Gaetz from the group. Gaetz, for his part, is
this pushback from the right, this internal pushback from the right, is not about saving democracy, or it's about saving their own status quo. They don't want to be called out by Matt Gaetz, who their constituents want. They want them to be Matt Gaetz. They want them to be like them, right? So they have to walk this tightrope of who they want to be versus who their constituents want them to be, and if they want to keep the job. So what they're frustrated with Matt Gaetz with is that he's calling out their hypocrisy and not being as ultra MAGA as they are promising that they're going to be.
Regarding the criticism being directed toward him. Asked about Lawler's square between the eyes comment and if he expects to be expelled by the conference, Gaetz returned fire. Quote, I think that was a very frustrated person who's having to come to grips with these stages of grief, Gaetz told Bloomberg TV of Lawler. Quote, I'm not much for political violence. I don't want to hit anybody, he later added. If Mike Lawler comes at me with a gavel, I'm not entirely sure that would concern me, but that's not the direction I think we ought to go. I think we ought to maybe craft a budget before an attack strategy. So GOP infighting is so bad that you have members saying, I want to hit him in the face with the speaker gavel. And on top of that, Lawler wants him expelled. But he's not the only one. In fact, The Hill is also reporting that Republican Dave Joyce, who they call a moderate, which I don't think that a moderate Republican is actually a thing that exists, but regardless, he's more moderate than a lot of the fascists in his party. But he says that he would vote to expel all 8 Republicans who voted to oust McCarthy, which tells us that Matt Gaetz isn't the only target of the GOP's ire. And another main target is seemingly Nancy Mace. Now, Politico reports that the knives are out for her too, writing House Republicans are now weighing whether to expel Mace from at least 2 centrist-leaning groups she belonged to, as Politico first reported. Her staff was quickly removed from several internal GOP communications channels shortly after her vote Tuesday. But here's my favorite part. During a Fox News interview later on Wednesday, Mace delivered a plea for donations that she acknowledges violated House rules that bar lawmakers from soliciting political contributions while on Capitol grounds. Her office says she self-reported the matter to the House.
So it's my fault for calling a fascist that right-wing party is turning fascist. Is that what you're saying, Jim? If the left wasn't calling them fascist, they wouldn't be fascist. Are we really doing that, Jim? Come on, man. I feel like you're smarter than that. You're not really proving that you are smarter than this with your various comments in defense of this right-wing dictatorship, this attempt for a right-wing dictatorship. You're still basically going, I mean, I do appreciate, because I mean, oftentimes, and we see this amongst the left, like adhering to generalizations, like what we see, like we saw with that author of that article, right? Calling Trump a rapist when it's not technically true. And look, if we're going to be journalistic about it, we probably should use the right terms for things. So I do agree that the left can sometimes be hyperbolic and use generalizations, but I'm well beyond that analysis. Like I don't think that's the case at all with this Republican Party. Then you may say you need to punch fascists, so be careful with your words. Well, I don't think we should punch a fascist until we've declared war with fascists. Would I be against a democratic decision by the people to say, if you're walking around with a swastika armband that, you know, certain rights are not are no longer yours. I mean, I do think America and democracies in general, and Germany, I think Germany has this correct. I don't think fascism deserves free speech. So but you know, that is a really difficult conversation to have because the slippery slope, right? Because I don't think when it comes to free speech, we should not be making rules on it unless it is absolutely necessary. But I do believe the threat of fascism and doing something about it is absolutely necessary. I do believe this debate is one of those necessary, should we have a rule about this with free speech, right? But yeah, I got no problem punching a fascist once we've declared war against them.
House Ethics Committee. Unreal. Now, also in her appearance on Steve Bannon's program, she made a plea for donations, saying that they are coming after me, they being the Republican establishment, and she's right to suspect that because they are, right? They're out for blood, they're out for retribution, and she is one of the main targets. I think not because she's as bad as Matt Gaetz, but because she was seemingly somebody who was more reasonable. She initially called Matt Gaetz a fraud, but you know, she went along with him. So I think that they expected better. And as a result, they're going to try to destroy her. Now, Matt Gaetz, he may have already been on his way out of the House of Representatives because he's reportedly planning a gubernatorial run in Florida after DeSantis is out. But May seemingly has no plans to step aside. She wants to keep her seat, as far as I know. And her race is much more competitive than Gaetz's. So in terms of
this boring constituency nonsense, this is why we're seeing what we're seeing, folks, okay? Because their voters are demanding dictatorship. They hear Steve Bannon on his podcast, they watch Nick Fuentes, they listen to Charlie Kirk, they watch Hannity, they watch Tucker, and they're like, enough of the bullshit. Where's my authoritarian dictatorship already, God damn it? And their constituents are like, there's a whole game that we're playing where we're pretending to have a democracy while we slowly institute corporate fascism, like over the course of several decades, boiling the frog. Like you're like we, like, you know, I hate democracy. I hate democracy. You know, like they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do because they want to hold on to a status quo. That enriches them, and they see this new. It's like, well, this new status quo. Am I going to get rich off this? Is this, you know, or what is this? Am I going to be the person that destroys American even the even the idea of American democracy? Am I going to be that guy? Like Mike Pence had to have that conversation in his head. Am I going to be the one that pulls the trigger on Lady Liberty? Am I going to be the one? Welcome back, Kissing Gonzo.
She can't be as firebrand as Gaetz, so this was a really risky move for her. But when it comes to expulsion, I don't want to make it seem like everyone is on board with expulsion because that isn't actually the case. For example, Jim Jordan, who needs Gaetz' support for his own bid to be speaker, defended Gaetz, calling him talented, which is hilarious, and saying that he actually doesn't support expulsion. There's also an additional layer to the infighting that I didn't even anticipate. So aside from Jim Jordan, Steve Scalise is another potential McCarthy replacement who threw his hat in the ring, but McCarthy is currently trying to destroy Steve Scalise's bid behind the scenes through proxies, according to an Axios.
So he's already said, I'm not going to run again. Okay, it's over. But he's still spending his time to send his little, allies out to ruin other people's chances at getting it. This is, imagine if America was under a real crisis. Imagine if China invaded Florida, right? And this is. And we got leaders like, oh, yeah, invasion. Well, okay, whatever. But I mean, what about, this guy who slighted me? What about Matt Gaetz, the Matt Gaetz coalition, right? We're over here talking about this crap instead of something actually important. I mean, this is wildly unsustainable, right? This complete lack of leadership. How did we survive? It's once they gut that federal government like they want, situations like COVID won't just magically fix themselves, even with the Republican Party not really doing as much as they should. Because it was the quote unquote deep state that really ensured that we had something in place to get people vaccinated. I mean, but if all that is gutted and they're all just stealing money, I mean, we'll quickly descent into third world country status of just like, yeah, well, no one, the money that was meant to go to buy vaccines went into someone's pocket. And, I'm too corrupt to call them out. So there you go.
Report, and they add, quote, Scalise and McCarthy have long been viewed as rivals, with tensions spilling over into the public eye on multiple occasions in recent years. Sources told Axios it's not surprising McCarthy would not look to assist Scalise in obtaining the gavel. So the factionalization caused by this motion to vacate has really demonstrated how ill-equipped the GOP is at governing. I mean, if they can't even agree on a leader and there's this much infighting, then how can they ever accomplish what they want? And that's good.
Last clip here, then we're moving on from good old Mike here.
Because everything that they want is evil and demonic and would hurt working class people. But I mean, just seeing this, if you are a GOP voter, how can you still support this party given how dysfunctional they are, right? But back to Matt Gaetz, because after
take away all the racism and all the other nasty shit, the fascism, just the fact they can't get anything done, good or bad. They're completely and wildly dysfunctional.
He got the result and the attention that he wanted. Well, what does he do? Immediately, he is already complaining. I can't believe this. He's already complaining about the temporary speaker that's there because of what he did.
I do have to offer some pretty sharp criticism of the new pro tem of the House, Patrick McHenry. We met tonight, and he sent us home until Tuesday of next week, Eric. We should be here tomorrow working to elect a new speaker, getting onto our appropriations bills, and engaging in a negotiation with the Senate to get the government funded. But instead, these people have got to go home and cry for a week?
Sure. Can you prove to me, Jim Moneymaker, that McCarthy hasn't supported racist legislation? I mean, this is the problem for liberals, though, right? Is that we often lean on generalizations and we get called out for it, where the right never has to explain their generalizations. They just get to hand wave that away. But as a party that claims to be intellectual, we have to be very careful with what we say, and because there are bad actors. I don't know if Jim Moneymaker is a bad actor or not. Certainly a contrarian, but there are bad actors that will try to pin you down no matter what you say.
Week they've got to go do a week of hand wringing and bedwetting over the fact.
I'm putting that in your lap, Moneymaker. You really want me to just Google this shit for you? But I mean, what I'm trying to say is that the reason why McCarthy would get lumped in as racist would be his support for racist legislation.
That Kevin McCarthy isn't speaker anymore. This institution is about more than one man. It's about the job. How about we pass a budget?
You see what I mean? You see how populist he is?
They've got to go do a week of hand wringing and bedwetting over the fact that Kevin McCarthy isn't speaker anymore. This institution is about more than one man. It's about the job.
Okay, Moneymaker. Fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you on that one. Fair enough.
How about we pass a budget? So McHenry has the power of the speakership now, and literally his first act as the acting speaker.
I think it's safe to say Kevin McCarthy is not going to do a single goddamn thing to help African American people. I think that's pretty fair to say. Only because he supports standard Republican policies and legislation, which want to cut services, cut for people of color. Not help people of color. They of course would say, oh, well, those bootstraps will help them. Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's how does cutting WIC, the Women and Infant and Children Food Program, how does that help? How does making a kid hungry help him be a better kid, Kevin?
Speaker of the House was to send everyone home till Tuesday. That's moving in the wrong direction. We got to get a new.
We do not support nihilism here. We support breaking free from nihilism to find purpose, either embracing existentialism or absurdism, one or the other. But we are not a pro-nihilist channel.
Speaker, and we've got to get leadership to understand a sense of urgency that your viewers.
Hey, Jim Moneymaker, when's that going to? That's the system we have right now. When does the money start trickling down, Jim? That's what we got right now, buddy. And it ain't helping. All it's helping is a couple folks. So when do I get a little bit of that warm, golden fucking trickle down? Another 20 years, another 50 years.
And the American people all feel.
I find this so incredibly funny because it hasn't been a couple of days, and he's
All right, so there you go. That's Mike Figurino. Love him. Great guy. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, folks. He is a communist, but what can you do? What can you do? You know, you can't win them all. Can't win them all. All right, moving on. Next story. We're just gonna I'm just a quick rapid Trump catch up of all the fucking all the Trump news. I mean, every single day, man. I mean, I really do need to do a daily stream, but I'm so fucking busy with the kid and my 9 to 5. You know, by the time I'm done with all that bullshit, I just have no energy to sit here and do this properly. You know, I'd be sitting, okay, it's news. I don't know. I'm going to take a nap. Okay, Jim, I'm done with you, buddy. Thank you so much. You're not really welcome here. If I see you again in the chat, I'm going to ban you. I'm sick of you. Welcome back, Husky Canvas.
Madam Speaker, all I can say is we'll do whatever's best for the country and for the Republican.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and debunk every ridiculous right-wing talking point in defense from Jim Moneymaker. And I'm not going to sit here and let him be a contrarian to everything I'm saying and showing in my chat either. His economic policies. It's all been debunked. It is literally like all you need to do is scratch the surface of that talking point to see how fucking false it was about him being the greatest economy America's ever had. Bollocks. Look it up. I don't have time for you. I know it's not true. I've looked it up. I've probably covered it. But I'm not going to sit here and every single fucking contrarian right-wing talking point Jim Moneymaker brings up and disprove it like it's my fucking job. But I'm not going to let him sit here and just blah, 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 blah. Oh, actually, the right wing was right on this one. Oh, the right wing was actually correct on this one. Oh, the right wing was right on this one.
We just want to say we have some great, great people. Would you take the job? A lot of people have asked me about it. I'm focused. You know, we're leading. I don't know you. I'm sure you don't read too much in the papers. But we're leading by like 50 points for president. You know, my focus is totally on that. If I can help them during the process, I would do it. But we have some great people in the Republican Party that could do a great job as Speaker. Well, what about you?
I did not hear that, Husky.
Yeah, I think she's a wonderful woman, Marjorie, and a lot of other people are involved with that too. I'll do whatever it is to help, but my focus, my total
He's talking about being nominated for Speaker of the House.
focus is being president and, quite honestly, making America great again.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think even Jim Jordan sees this as just red meat for his base, right? Just to kind of like, yeah, sure, I'm flirting with it. Yeah, no, it's a great idea, knowing full well that it's never going to happen. I think that's what we're seeing here. Of course, it is troubling that they would consider it, but they're shameless. The mask is off. They've accepted Stop the Steal. They've accepted that, you know, Trump is their real president and, you know, they need to take over America for the real Americans, yada, yada, yada. So it's sky's the limit. Yeah, whatever fantasy. Yeah, Trump is speaker. Yeah, whatever. Sure. Yeah. They have to go along with all of it, or they start the moment they question Trump. If Jim Jordan were to say, I don't know about that, by constituent, 1,000 hate death threats sent to his office that day by his constituents. Look, there's one thing you cannot fault the conservatives on in America. And that is holding their politicians to account and making sure that they're voting for what they consider their interests, right? And their interests, of course, programmed into them. It's hilarious to me. I mean, I bet a lot of these constituent letters are like, hey, great job triggering the liberals, but I don't know, could I also get a raise at my job? And could I get some health care? And could I get this and that? I bet you that's what those letters look like. But they'll settle for like triggering the libs. Okay, all right. Well, at least they're pro-God triggering the libs. All right. Like I said, we're just going to rapid fire news about Trump. So they're flirting around with Trump as speaker. Trump reportedly shared nuclear secrets with a billionaire at Mar-a-Lago. Sure, whatever.
President Trump reportedly shared sensitive details about U.S. nuclear submarines with a wealthy Australian businessman. People familiar with the matter told the New York Times that Mr. Trump revealed how many nuclear warheads the sub carried and how close they could get to Russian subs without being detected. The conversation is said to have taken place shortly after Mr. Trump left office at his Mar-a-Lago club, where businessman Anthony Pratt is a member.
Exactly,
Pratt was reportedly interviewed as part of the classified documents investigation. There was no immediate response from either side.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Hey, thanks. Remember when I did a media campaign about how I shit my pants in front of Obama? I'll never forget that, Roker. I'll never forget what you did to me, Roker. Every time I see this man, all I think of is fecal matter collecting in one's underwear. That's what you did to me, Roker. Like I said, just rapid fire Trump news here. Donald Trump drops off Ford's 400 list of wealthiest Americans, and we're just going to skip the Mika. God. Can we? No, we can't. Sorry. 1 minute of Mika Brzezinski. Can you handle it? Let's see if we can do it.
And in another blow to his financial reputation, former President Donald Trump has been dropped off the Forbes 400 list of wealthiest Americans. Forbes announced yesterday that Trump is $300 million short of the list's cutoff. Molly, your thoughts?
Well, this is probably the thing that upsets him the most, right? Because he's all about this image of himself as a billionaire. And
there is some evidence that Trump really, really does care about him being on this, and that he might have committed some of this fraud to stay on this list.
we all know many rich people who ask not to be on it and who pretend to have less money than they do because it's actually quite gaudy to be on it. But I think that for Trump, this is like a blow to his heart. And I think it's going to be, you know, there will be truths or tweets or whatever it is that he does. And there will be a lot of rage because, you know, his whole thing is that he's rich.
Okay, so there you go. I don't need to hear Mika on this one. Thank you, Mika. I'm just going to be like his husband and ignore her. Trump's New York, her husband. Did I call her a him? God. You can't even be an asshole right. You can't even be a dickhead correctly. Okay. The last little bit of Trump news here. Yeah, look up her father, dirty crackhead. Yeah, this one about civil fraud trial. So this is just a recap of what happened this week at the civil fraud trial.
All right, breaking news, everybody. Donald Trump's civil fraud trial just wrapped up in New York City with the former president still trying to stop it in its tracks. Trump's legal team filing this request for 2 stays during day 5 of the trial. One to stop a judge's order that could gut his company, and the other to pause the trial. Attorney General Letitia James responding this morning saying the court should not upend an ongoing trial. For now,
she's great. She's been great. I mean, her and Jack Smith, night and day difference. You know, I love it. Like Jack Smith over here. Oh, I don't know if we should handcuff president. Oh, gee, I don't know. Letitia James over here, like, I'm about to send your ass to jail for contempt, homeboy. Fuck with me. I love this.
Though, that trial is going to remain ongoing and pick back up Tuesday when former Trump CFO Alan Weisselberg is expected to testify. Today, ex-Trump organization controller Jeff McConney was back on the stand being grilled over valuations of Trump's properties. Joining us now to talk more about this, MSNBC legal analyst Lisa Rubin, who has been inside that courtroom for us, along with Barbara McQuade, former U.S. attorney, University of Michigan law professor, and an MSNBC legal analyst. Lisa, pick up for us what you saw inside that courtroom, some of the developments, the major developments today.
Well, Yasmin, the hubbub outside the courthouse has largely toned down without former President Trump here, but inside it ratcheted up to a rather fiery level at the end.
Meh, I'm Giuliani. Meh. Throws black ink at you.
End of the direct examination of Jeff McConney. That's because Andrew Amer of the Attorney General's office was taking him through some of the most egregious examples of exaggerated valuations, whether it came to telling people in his statements of financial condition that he wasn't incorporating, for example, the value of the Trump brand, but actually assigning 30% or 50% brand premiums to his golf courses, or
so the entire crux of what Trump is saying is that because it had my name on the building, it was actually worth $1 bazillion. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that homeboy just straight up said, my property is actually this size. He inflated the square footage of his of his properties. I can't remember, Mar-a-Lago, one of them. More than one of them, but he's done this to all of them. But at least at one of them, over 2,000% overestimated the square footage. No, physically it's bigger. It's physically bigger because it's got the Trump on the front. It's physics. That's just lying, because he's trying to make an argument that it's like ethereal. It's a brand value. No, there's nothing. This is physics, man. This is you get a ruler out and you could get the square footage of a building. Like there's no avoiding that. And he had what's his nuts there? He's Michael Cohen and the other one fix this, to make it look like it's bigger and bigger and bigger.
treating Mar-a-Lago as if it could be sold as an individual.
No, Jim Moneymaker. No. Nuance and different opinions. You're just throwing out base level right-wing talking points. But you're over here talking about Trump's greatest economy. Do a little digging, you fool. Talking about, oh, yeah, I'm a money. You're in stocks because you're a moneymaker? Yeah, it was really great for a bunch of oligarchs. Have you seen the fucking housing market? Oh, that's all Biden. That's all Biden. You as well as anybody should know, Mr. Moneymaker, should know that things that happen, economies can change over a long period of time. And things that can happen, in one presidency can affect the other. I'm not saying Biden is innocent, but this fucking canard that Trump had a great economy. Yeah, a bunch of rich fucking people made a lot of money. The middle and lower class got fucked. Look it up.
Residence when there is in fact a deed on it saying it can only be used as a club.
It's not nuance.
He got McConney to admit that the values of those properties were set in all sorts of inappropriate and deceptive ways. But really the fireworks were left for the end when McConney was forced to admit that not only did he engage in much of the conduct that the Attorney General's office has alleged here, but he also assisted former Trump CFO Alan Weisselberg, who, as you noted, is expected on the stand Tuesday morning, in the tax fraud for which he was convicted after pleading guilty to 15 felony counts last year. McConney said that he not only assisted Weisselberg in the fraud, that he knew it was illegal, and most importantly, that he did it because Weisselberg was his boss and he feared for his job. Yasmin, it was quite an explosive day to end the trial day. We know McConney won't be cross-examined by the Trump side, and Tuesday morning we'll begin with Alan Weisselberg, as you noted.
Cool. Going to begin with Alan Weisselberg. All right, so there you go. That's your rapid fire Trump update. There's probably more to talk about with Trump, but I don't have it in me. Okay. I'm showing this for a very, very good reason. Okay? Give me 1 minute, 30 seconds of your tolerance, and you'll see what I'm talking about and why this is important that I'm showing this. This is about Biden and Trump. And the failure of the neoliberals to, we got Biden over here still talking about bipartisanship, right? We got Biden out here talking about bipartisanship, okay? And the poll numbers are showing something frightening. Now, it's also good to mention, these polls, I believe, are still landline polls. I.e., people who have landlines in their home, phone number, a landline, a phone connected to a fucking cable. Okay? I think these are still landline. What does that mean? That a lot of the people being polled are older. Because it's very likely if you still have a landline phone, you're probably an older person, right? Or a very bizarre hipster or a business. Okay? But a regular millennial, Gen Z, millennial, or Gen Alpha, obviously, not really going to be on these landlines. And honestly, they don't even answer the. I get a phone call. I'm like, what the hell is this? My phone's ringing. It does this anyway. Give me a minute and a half of your time, and you'll see what I mean here. And is it too little, too late? Is all of this too little, too late? And you'll see what I mean.
There's been one poll after another poll after another poll this week that has shown that the Republicans are just absolutely bashing Democrats when it comes to issues. In fact, Gallup had a poll a few days ago where they reported the largest gap between Republicans and Democrats since they started taking these polls. And despite the fact Republicans have a massive lead, we always go like, well, how could people still go along and Republicans to go along with Donald Trump? Well, I mean, a lot of them aren't, despite the fact that Democrats are minus 20, minus 25, even minus 30 on like polls on who do you trust more to take care of the economy. Both parties are not liked or trusted by 56, 57, 58% of the population. And Joe Biden, in the latest poll that's out, among likely voters, beating Donald Trump by 3 points. It's amazing the advantage Republicans have.
Look at that. Look at that. And this isn't even the most shocking poll because it's like, oh, well, Biden's winning. Well, Biden's winning. It should not be this close. It should not be this close. This is, I mean, but okay, so here's among 690 likely voters. So by likely voters, they mean people that are registered and have a landline phone number. Okay? Keep that in mind. That is very important. But look at this next poll.
2 points that Republicans have going in to this election on the issues. And yet Donald Trump keeps dragging them down.
Yeah, no, they're saddled with this Trump issue. And if they had any other candidate there, I think there'd be real alarm among Democrats.
And the punditry is always wrong on this. A new candidate, guys, it's the fucking policies. It's the fucking policies. It's the fact that he said, he's like, I'm going to give you a COVID stimulus when I get in there. And then he gets in there and all of a sudden he's means testing everyone out of it. Oh, well, we actually meant when we said that amount, we actually meant the money that you already got from Trump plus the 400 we wanted to give you. Technically, I got more COVID stimulus from Donald Trump than Joe Biden. And let me tell you, folks, I'm not a fucking millionaire. I don't even make $100,000 a year. Okay? I got means tested out of a couple $100 by Joe fucking Biden. We saw the complete failure of Build Back Better. Housing, food, gas, out of control. And I'm not saying he has a fucking magic dial or anything, but there are things that he could do that he's not doing. And American people aren't stupid. But so what do you do if you're on the left? You hate the neoliberals. You fucking despise the right. What do most Americans do? They check the fuck out. That's what they do. Where's my crickets? There they are. Where's my cricket? They check the fuck out. They don't churn into activists like you or me. They don't get pissed. They acquiesce. They pay attention to other things. I mean, no. I mean, even if you're a JFK supporter, you're probably hyper political. You're just an idiot. But you're trying to pay attention to everything. You're very, very political. No, most people just check out, and that's what we see with the left. Tens of millions of them, just like I don't know. It's both sides. I give up, and they're checking out, and that is the failure of Joe Biden and the neoliberals, because they're not out there offering anything to vote for. Right? He shit all over his student loan forgiveness, means tested the shit out of it, and now he's given us a little bit more. There was a recent article about how he's making a change to it or whatever, and we're going to get a little bit more money, Not we, but students. I don't have any student debt. Too stupid to go to school. Just a waste of money. I'm done. But you know what I'm saying? That's why it's the failure of the neoliberal politicians to give us. It's not the fact that we don't have someone young and vibrant like Obama to spoon feed us feces and yo, this yum, because he's a good orator. No, that's not the fucking problem. It's the fucking policies.
Democrats and the White House about what these polls are showing. We just ticked through one of that Marquette University poll we just showed there. Yes, the top line shows.
Here's the goddamn truth. Okay, because yeah, these were all landline older folks that were being polled, but these people vote. And I don't think this is as accurate as it is, but it shouldn't be anywhere near this. Even with the skewed, biased polling, right, of older folks with landlines, it should not be like this. People honest and we see it in the chat with Jim Moneymaker over here, right? People honestly feel like Trump would be better with the economy because there is this lie, there is this falsehood that Trump's economy was somehow great, and where's the pushback? Where's Joe Biden on the bully pulpit saying, there's a rumor going around that Trump's economy actually helped people. Well, I'm sitting right here at the office. I had my experts look through what he did. Bop, bop, bop. Here you go. Does Biden even do fireside chats? The economy, people honestly, and once again, inflation, the economy, those two things are connected. It's a lie. It's a lie. Trump's economy didn't help the middle class and lower class. Immigration and border security. I mean, that's pathetic. That's pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic. But it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because what did the Obama administration do for, he was the deporter in chief. He was the deporter in chief. Creating jobs. And this is, and once again, a neoliberal failure, right? Because Obama and Biden were all like, look at how many jobs I created. And then you look at the jobs that they created. No benefits, barely minimum wage if you're lucky, no unions, terrible working conditions. Oh, you made a bunch of burger flipper jobs, basically. And no offense to the burger flippers, you got to get started somewhere. Or, there are some people that make it their career. I'm just saying it's, he's not out here making a bunch of, college professors and lawyers and doctors. Okay? We're not talking about jobs. We're not talking about careers. I mean, we're talking about look at all these new jobs we created. Yeah, you gave, Walmart opened up a bunch of new stores. Great job. Foreign relations, and this is shocking. This is shocking because the facts are so stark when it comes to Trump versus Biden on foreign policy. And there's this misconception, this lie that Trump was somehow great, with geopolitics and negotiations and all these things. Total lie. He was an absolute joke. He was a complete fucking joke. Where's the pushback? Where's the pushback? Where's the bully pulpit? Oh, Joe Biden would rather talk about bipartisanship than call out the lies. And it has an effect. It has an effect because we see it in our chat. Oh, wait, isn't Trump's economy the greatest economy in the world? No, it fucking wasn't. And it's one of those things that's just repeated over and over and over and over and over again until it's truth. Medicare and Social Security, now we're getting a little closer to reality, right? Abortion and then climate change. But even then, right, it shows there's just not enough lefties showing up. So like I said, I think this poll is biased because it's hitting up people with landlines. And it's only 868 registered voters. So this poll isn't 100% accurate. But the one previous is I've seen other polling that shows this neck and neck 2 points away. And folks, this is the end of America. This is the end of democracy. And this is the best hope that we have, Joe Biden. This is it. All right, last little article here. Just wanted to point this out. There's a reason why this shit is happening. There's a reason why this shit is happening. The Biden administration says it is using executive power to allow border wall construction in Texas. So Biden kept Trump's immigration policies, changed a few things, hasn't returned kids to their families. But when fascism takes over in America, I want you to blame the neoliberals, because you weren't in charge. I'm not in charge. There's only one party. There's only one group of people standing in their way, and it's these guys. Getting punched in the face talking about, it's okay. It's okay. Bipartisanship. We got, the sanctity of the Supreme Court, the sanctity of our governing bodies, so we can't do anything about the filibuster. I want you to remember who was there to stand and fight for you and who failed to do that. Because honestly, and I'm not trying to be alarmist, I'm not trying to be cynical here, but I do honestly believe that the right wingers are winning. I do believe that Steve Bannon is winning. And, we see some electoral victories here and there, abortion being a big thing that's pushing a lot of votes around. But we are one election away, and I'm not being hyperbolic. We are one right-wing election away from losing our democratic freedom to choose who our leaders are. At the minimum, at the very minimum. Who knows what'll happen after that once the dictatorship is installed and there's no democratic levers to prevent them from doing what they want. Who knows? Sky's the limit. But I know for a fact that they are attacking your democratic voting rights, and they're winning. And the reason they're winning is because of mediocre characters like Joe Biden and the neoliberal Democratic Party. So thank you, folks. This is the end of my YouTube segment here. We're going to move on to U.S. and then Ukraine. That was a long one, almost 2 hours, but it's very important to me that we talk about this because it is happening right in front of our face, and it's real. It's so real. If you want a solution, I have a very simple 3-step program. Step 1, inform yourself, which is what you're doing now. You just watch this whole thing. Step 2, join a progressive political organization in your area. Put your name down. Join a union. Run for office. Support a politician that you like, a progressive politician that you like. Get part of that campaign. Do something. And then step 3, you got to put in the work and ask yourself, what am I doing for the movement? Once a month, couple hours a month. What the hell am I doing for the movement? You're not going to fix everything, but you can be part of the change. All right. Thank you, YouTube.